Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our monthly virtual town hall for our community stakeholders. My name is G. Lamar Stewart. I'm the Chief of Community Engagement here at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. And we want to just thank you for taking the time, both for our panelists, as well as for those who are in the community who are listening in. Each month, our office, we host virtual town halls in each of our police, or for each residents within the police divisions across the city of Philadelphia. And so this panel discussion, or this virtual town hall, is for those who live in the east, northeast, and northwest areas of our city. And so we welcome you and thank you for being a part of today's discussion. Each month, we have several different panelists who participate in the discussion. And so we're appreciative for our panelists today, who I will introduce here momentarily. So once again, we thank you for being a part of it. And we should probably conclude somewhere around 12:15 or 12:30. So today we have with us several panelists. I will ask that each one of them just say a few words about the work that they do, and then we'll move on to our pre-submitted questions. Today, our panelists, in this order, I'll ask them to share. First, Assistant District Attorney Judge Carolyn Timmon from the DA's office, Assistant District Attorney Alex Blumenthal from the DA's office, Assistant District Attorney Jim Delfour from the DA's office, Andriana Bearfield from the DA's office, Officer Renee Bunyan from the Philadelphia Police Department, Roger Moore from the Philadelphia Corporation for the Aging, and Marielle Lorenz from the Center for Advocacy for the Rights and Interests of the Elderly. So I'll ask each of you in that order. Judge Timmon first, to just unmute yourself and to give a greeting to our listening audience. Judge Timmon, you need to unmute yourself, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Timmon, and I'm honored to serve as First Assistant District Attorney to District Attorney Larry Krasner. Basically, my duties encompass our entire office, and at any one time, I may be involved with maybe 10 different projects in the office. I oversee, to some extent, our elder justice unit, which is headed by Alex Blumenthal, and which is a unit which is specifically designed to serve the needs of our elderly citizens who have problems that bring them in contact with our office. I am very delighted to be here today to have this opportunity to talk with you and to answer questions that you have about what we do and how we can serve you. And I expect that I will learn from this discussion how we can even serve you better.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Alexander Blumenthal. As First Assistant Timmon just said, I'm the supervisor of the Elder Justice Unit. DA Krasner and First Assistant Timmon have given me the responsibility to focus on elder crimes against the elderly. And those are what I prosecute here in the office. Many of the cases are specially assigned to me when there's an elderly victim. It gives me the opportunity and the time to connect with other organizations, a lot of what you see here, so I can best serve those elderly victims. Include CARI, which is an advocacy organization for elderly victims, the Philadelphia Corporation for the Aging, and the Senior Law Center, among many others. I also have the time to develop some legal expertise on issues and statutes that particularly pertain to the elderly. And a lot of it is just helpful knowledge of the criminal justice system to know how to track the cases and to make sure they come to a just conclusion. And frankly, just some of it is time to devote that some of these cases need and some of that care they need. I'm very happy to answer your questions today, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim Delafura. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jim.
Okay, great. Yeah, hi, my name is Jim Delafura. I supervise the private criminal complaint unit here at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. The private criminal complaint unit, what we do is we process applications for criminal charges involving misdemeanors where the parties know each other. So we're talking about usually things like simple assaults that would occur between people who know each other, maybe neighbors, or criminal mischief, vandalism that occur between people who know each other, terroristic threats, harassment, bad checks, those kinds of things. Our people will usually be referred to us. The police on the scene responding to an incident will tell people, "Oh, your situation, it's a misdemeanor crime, and you know the person who did it. This is something you have to go to 1425 Arch Street." That's where we're located, 1425 Arch Street, and it's the private criminal complaint unit. People applying for a private criminal complaint need to have made a police report about the incident that they want to report and apply for a criminal charge over. And they will call us first. We used to take walk-ins, but we don't anymore because of the coronavirus. And as when they call us, we will speak to them. We'll take a look at the police report. We'll pull it off the computer and see if it looks like something that we could process here at the private criminal complaint unit. And if it looks okay, then we will go ahead and make an appointment for people to come in and apply for a private criminal complaint. Like I said, we only do misdemeanor charges, most commonly simple assaults, terroristic threats, harassments, criminal mischief. We see a lot of criminal mischief, vandalization. People who have their homes are vandalized, or maybe cars are vandalized or something like that. But we see a fair amount of senior citizens get referred to us. Senior citizens whose homes are maybe vandalized by somebody on the block, somebody they know, a neighbor who's maybe been up to no good, and they'll often get referred to us. The occasional simple assault against a senior citizen, that kind of thing. If the situation looks like it's maybe something involving possible elder abuse or something involving a rest home that might need some additional investigation, I will usually refer those people over to speak to Alexander Blumenthal, who you just heard from a moment ago. But like I said, we process misdemeanor charges that occur between people who know each other, and the crime usually doesn't involve any additional police investigation. That's what we do here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Just before I present or introduces herself, I'll just ask that this initial response would just be agreed, just so that we don't get into any of the responses to the particular questions. Thank you. Andrea.
Good morning. My name is Police Officer Renee Mitchell-Bunyan. I'm from the Philadelphia Police Department Victim Services Unit. We service all victims besides special victims, which goes directly to their unit. Homicide victims, which goes directly to homicide. We have 20, if I'm not mistaken, 23 districts. And each district has a victim assistance officer. We try to do the best we can, especially with elders, children. You know, we give all the resources that we possibly have. And if we don't have the resources, we will definitely find it. It's great to meet all of you. And hopefully at some point, I don't hope to meet none of you. So that means I'm not having no problems. But if so, I'll be calling on everybody.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andriana Bearfield. I am the Community Engagement Liaison for Northwest, Northeast, and East Police Divisions here in the District Attorney's Office. I'm so excited that you can all join us today. In short, my job is to build relationships with each and every one of you, everyone from our youth to our seniors, teachers, educators, faith leaders, and our law enforcement partners throughout the city to get an understanding of what it's like to live and work in the communities that you're all in, and hopefully be able to work with you in partnership to advocate for your needs, interests, and concerns, and create a pipeline of communication between the community and the district attorney's office. Looking forward to today's discussion.
Good morning. My name is Roger Moore from Philadelphia Corporation for the Aging. I am the Community Relations Manager. I manage 3 outreach coordinators, and we have a coordinator for our Latino community. We have a coordinator for our Asian community, and we also have a coordinator for our clergy and interfaith and our African and Caribbean. And what we do is have certain events. We have conferences, we have meetings to have people come in and speak about services from PCA services to all services in the city of Philadelphia. And we have, like I said, conferences and meetings throughout the year for all our community seniors to come and participate and gather information so they can take it back to their community. And I've been at PCA for quite a while, just put it that way. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hi, good morning. My name is Marielle Lorenz, and I'm from the Center for Advocacy for the Rights and Interests of the Elderly. Our mission is to promote the well-being, rights, and autonomy of older adults. And I supervise the PAVE program, which is a program particularly targeting assisting older adults who have been affected by crime. We help to provide access to various support services that are available to victims of crime and cultivate relationships with the DA's office, of the police, other agencies to assist victims of crime and help them to navigate through the criminal justice system process. It's one of many programs that Carrie has, and very glad to be with you all today to talk about our program and learn from the panelists and share other resources as well.
Thank you all for your introductions. We'll get right into our series of questions. And so I'll ask Assistant District Attorney Blumenthal and Roger Moore to respond to this first question. Please describe the services and resources that you and your organization provide to Philadelphia seniors. What makes your organization unique compared to other DA's office units, city agencies, and/or nonprofits in Philadelphia?
I'll go first since Lamar called on me first. So my unit is the Elder Justice Unit. That means I work pretty much exclusively on elder cases. I only say pretty much because I've taken on a few cases of disabled people and things like that that present some of the same issues. So the resources I bring to bear are essentially a knowledge and an ability to try and guide the cases through the justice system in the best possible way, and to connect, as I said, with the other organizations that can really help me out, because a lot of this is being able to call on a network of people to assist. These crimes range from street crimes against the elderly, which would ordinarily be handled by other units, but the victim presents some special challenge, either has difficulty coming into court, which I can arrange transportation for, or may have, there may be an issue with recording that person's testimony in case they were ever unable to come to court again. And I have some expertise in being able to both get that recording happening technically and to be able to preserve it legally should it ever be used at trial. Also, we can go on to things that more directly affect the elderly, such as caregiver abuse, caregiver theft, financial crimes that really disproportionately target the elderly. And these cases really need some extra care and investigation, especially in the case of a caregiver theft or caregiver abuse, which can be very difficult cases to navigate. And what this really gets to is one of the resources is time, and that's something that DA Krasner and First Assistant Temin have really given me, is the ability to take a case and instead of having it handled by a younger DA who might have 30 other cases on the list, I'll often come in with 1 or 2 cases for a day, and so that I can really hold that victim's hand and help him or her get through the system, take the time to conduct a really thorough hearing, and not have it rushed, know what room to place it in, know that there's particular avenues in the criminal justice center where you are not, well, at least before COVID times, and not in a room teeming with other people and other cases, which can obviously be very difficult for some senior citizens to navigate. And also know sometimes how to resolve a case. There's some seniors who really do not want to come to court, and whether out of disability or fear, have a real problem completing their duties in the criminal justice system. And I'm able to use some of my expertise to try and resolve those cases in a just way without putting a real burden on the senior citizens. The only other thing I'd like to mention is there are some specific crimes that do really are meant to address problems, crimes against the elderly. These are abuse of a care-dependent person, neglect of a care-dependent person. There's certain statutory sentencing enhancements that go with elder victims. Certain crimes have a higher, you can charge a higher degree of felony for certain fraud and theft crimes. Things like home improvement fraud are often charged differently when there's an elder victim. And so I can make sure the appropriate felonies and penalties are applied, and also work with the police on the charging decisions and some of the investigations to make sure that all resources are brought to bear and the correct crime is charged. Thank you.
Yes, Philadelphia Corporation for Aging provides a number of services for our seniors in the community. The main thing is to call our helpline number, and that's 215-765-9040. So it all depends what the need is for that senior that would be calling, or could be calling from someone in the community, could be calling for that consumer. So there's a number of services. We have our waiver program, and all our services, you must be assessed first to determine what your level of care is. And so with that, you would call that helpline number and speak with an intake worker. I always recommend that even if you're not sure, to at least call the intake, call that number, our helpline number, and talk with the intake worker so they can direct you to the process, let you know what you're going to need to do, how the process works. If you have questions, they'll be able to answer your questions. Some people might just need a meal. We have programs for people that just need a meal. And if they need home repairs, we have programs for that. We have long-term care services. That's our PDA waiver program. When assessment takes place, they make the level of care. They decide what type of services you would need. There's a financial piece with that they would complete a financial piece. PCA no longer does the financial. That's Maximus company that does that. But the worker, the service coordinator, you get assigned a service coordinator. And we also have our in-home support program, which is a unique program where you don't need long-term care services. A lot of times people think PCA only provides long-term care services, and that's not true. We have our in-home support program that is run out of 5 senior centers in the city of Philadelphia. And each section of the city has a in-home support program. So every section is covered. And with that in-home support program, you must be 60 and over, homebound, and have no long-term care needs. When I say homebound, that means someone needs a walker, cane, or needs human assistance to come out of their home. So that's not a long-term care service that people can receive. You can get meals, you can get transportation, you can get a senior companion with that program, and these are brief services. So if someone just needs a fan during the summer, they could call that an in-home support program and get a fan, but they must complete the assessment. So when you say what makes us unique, I feel that makes us unique is that we provide long-term care services, and we also provide short-term brief services in the community for our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you, Alex. The next question will be for First Assistant District Attorney Carolyn Timmon. What kind of criminal activity typically targets or affects senior citizens? How does your agency help protect seniors and or seek justice on behalf of seniors? What can seniors do to make themselves safe? All right, and
To some extent, Alex,
we can hear you now.
okay. To some extent, Alex answered the question because when you say what kind of crimes typically affect seniors, property scams, home improvement scams. There was a scam recently where somebody pretending to be your grandchild called up and said they've been arrested and needed bail. And if you couldn't recognize, I know the scam because it happened to me. You couldn't recognize your grandson because they said that they'd been in a car accident and broken their nose, so they sounded funny. They tried it on my sister and they didn't get anywhere with her because they claimed that her son was arrested for some driving accident and her son doesn't drive a car, so it didn't work. But that kind of thing apparently worked. It was a very big scale. It was run not in this country, it was run out of another country, and it was done on a national basis. And I think what seniors have to do is to read the newspaper and be involved in organizations where they will get this kind of information, because it doesn't always get to everyone. We try to make information available to seniors about senior crime by PR that we get for arrests that we make, and also by participating in programs like this, where people can come and get answers. And I think one answer for seniors really is to keep connected. It's very hard. I mean, I'm a senior myself, which is probably why I'm so interested in this part of our office. And one problem for seniors is keeping connected because they don't always have computers and they wouldn't know how to use them. If they had them, they may not even have television that works very well. They may have to rely on word of mouth or the radio, but it's really important. And being connected to some of your organizations, to senior centers, to places where they can get some companionship and also information is very important. But seniors can be victims of practically every crime. But the ones that we associate mostly with seniors, as Alex said, are the economic crimes where people either try to scam them out of money they have in the bank or by home improvement scams are very proliferate a lot. And those are the ones where they're horrible because the contractor comes in and promises to do work and gets paid up front and then leaves after having dismantled whatever part of the property they were supposed to work on, but without doing the repairs. So the people are left worse off than when they started. So they still have the repair to do and they're out the money, and the repair is going to cost more because somebody's taken it apart more than it was before. I'm looking at the question to see if I've answered. And what we do for seniors is to treat them, to have Alex and his unit that is sensitive to the needs of seniors and make sure that they can get to court or that they can get their testimony recorded in case there's a possibility that they may become sicker or that they may not be around when the trial comes up. Unfortunately, COVID-19 closed the operation of the courts for many, many months, and this set things back. And of course, with seniors, you don't want to have long periods of waiting because that may result in the complainant not being available. But we're doing everything we can to make sure that now that the courts have begun operating to some extent again, that we get things back. And as Alex said, we do try to work out cases so the senior doesn't have to come to court, which means that it would be a plea bargain, and we try to do that in the appropriate case so that the witness actually doesn't have to appear. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Tennant. Next question before Officer Bunyan and Assistant District Attorney Delafour. How does your organization assist seniors who are victims of crime or mistreatment? How can seniors report wrongdoing to your agency?
Well, the first thing, I'm sorry, this is Renee Bunyan. The first thing with the police department, what we do is, of course, we make sure that they have a police report filed. And we try to get them to be very explicit on what happened, so we'll know what direction to go in. One thing about seniors is when they're abused or it's always about money. And now it's also about credit. You know, if a senior, seniors love to pay their bills and they love to pay their bills on time. So the credit score goes up. And when these other folks that are going and are looking into, they try to get them to talk about, what they have or whatever, seniors, they like to talk, and sometimes they give up a little bit more information than they should. But once these people find out basically, what information they're looking for, and that's when they go into the abuse. What we do is PCA is one of our best resources, along with the Senior Law Center, Dana Goldberg. We rely on them a lot, also with Carrie. And even with Carrie, where it comes down to elder abuse, we take their reports, which comes directly from our victim assistance officers, and Carrie picks them up where they can start a log of their own to visit with the seniors to get more information. Because one thing, when police shows up, seniors, they're not afraid of police, but when we walk up there in the uniform, it's like, oh my God, they don't like to give up too much information. But when someone shows up in regular clothes and looking like they're trying to help, it works out very well. I have to admit, a lot of times the perpetrators are family members. And then once they don't want to report the family member, they don't want the family member to get in trouble. But I have to honestly say 85% of the time is a family member that's robbing the senior. We do a lot. And like I said, we definitely deal with PCA and the Senior Law Center a lot. Sure that we don't make any mistakes or miss anything to help the senior out, even down to the senior. We also have a safety senior seminar that because of the COVID, we couldn't do it. And it's kind of hard to try to get seniors, as Judge Timmons said, it's kind of hard to get seniors to go onto the computer to try to put a red flag or put a flag on their credit report. So somebody just can't look it up, and because they don't know how to use the system. Even with the Federal Trade Commission, I've spoken with them on if they could do a seminar, but then it goes going into a computer to sign up, to try to get these seniors to flag their accounts so no one can go in and use your credit report, or no one can go in and try to buy something off your credit report, and all of a sudden it hits them and they shut it down. And it does work. It works a lot, but it's trying to get the seniors to do it because a lot of them are not computer savvy. But we have broke through a lot of things that seniors are now doing more than they used to do 5-10 years ago, which is great. But still, the elder abuse continues to climb, and I don't know for the life of me on how we get to that. Once we can get the things more than they normally did before, and we're grateful for that. But as soon as we get all the information and we turn it over to our detectives division, they go to lock them up, which is great, but it's still not enough.
Hi. I'd like to just actually pick up a little bit on what the officer just said a minute ago. Officer Bunyan spoke about when police will respond out to somebody who's called the police. And yes, as far as the private criminal complaint process goes, the police report is very, very important. We do encourage people who are speaking to police to try to insist that the police put as much detail into the police report as they can, because it will help us when we're looking at the police report and deciding what kind of charge to consider for a private criminal complaint. We need to see the details. If it was some kind of threat or harassment, we'd like to know specifically what was said, exactly what were the words that was said. If it was an alleged assault, what kind of assault, how many times was the person struck, unfortunately, and were they struck with an object? Was it just was it a slap? Was it a fist? We'd like to see those kinds of details. So we do encourage people when they're talking to the police, when the police respond to a 911 call, to try to be as detailed as possible and insist that the officer try to write as much detail as they possibly can. It really, really helps us as far as considering private criminal complaints when we see those extra details. Like I alluded to, I think when I first introduced myself, if a senior comes to the private criminal complaint unit or is communicating with us, and I talk to people all day, every day on the phone who have special kinds of issues, and some of them are seniors who have situations that might involve some kind of, like I said, like a fraud, or I sometimes get phone calls from family members who are out of state and they're worried about a relative who's maybe in a rest home in Philadelphia, and maybe there's a friend or family member locally here in the Philadelphia area who has power of attorney, and the out-of-state family will be concerned with possible elder abuse, or maybe possibly some kind of fraud or something going on with regard to what's being done with the elderly person who's in the rest home, their finances, or those kinds of issues. And like I mentioned a moment ago, I will usually refer those people over to Alexander Blumenthal to speak to him and see if his resources can help them. I also occasionally I will reach out to specific detective divisions in Philadelphia and see if there's something that they can do. And I'll maybe put the relatives in touch with specific detectives to see if there's something that that can be checked up on. I also reach out to the police district, the police districts themselves. Sometimes community relations officers and victim assistance officers are able to look into a situation, contact family members, maybe follow up locally here in Philadelphia to see what's going on with the person, to make sure that things are okay. And if they're not okay, then refer it to the right agency to deal with. But the private criminal complaint unit, like I mentioned a moment ago, we really like to see accurate and detailed police reports. As far as being able to contact us, when we reopened the private criminal complaint unit in July, we have a 24 hours hotline where a person can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and leave a message, and somebody from here will get back to them within 1 or 2 business days. That hotline number is 215-686-9848. Again, that's 215-686-9848. They can also send us an email 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Somebody will get back to them within 2 business days. That email address is da_pcc@phila.gov. And of course, we're open during regular business hours, and the phone numbers where you can reach us during business hours are 215-686-9864 and 215-686-9863.
Thank you so much, both Jim and Officer Bunyan, for responding to the question. So those were our introductory questions. Our next set of questions are directly from those in the community, pre-submitted questions. So this next question, I ask that Marielle Lorenz and Roger Moore respond. It's from Tyrone Manning, who works in a state Senator Art Hayward's office. What organizations and programs are offering services for seniors who need to have their living will, power of attorney, and other estate planning documents completed? What about seniors who have home repair needs?
Okay, PCA works with our different legal services, community legal services, senior law, and Temple Elderly Law Project that they could call the helpline to get information of how, if something, a lot of times people call and not sure what they're calling for. And if they're calling because there's a situation, they need a power of attorney, that's why you would call that the helpline number. And we also have with our older adult protective services, they assist with power of attorney. So you could always call our helpline number to get your whatever questions you might have concerning if you need a power of attorney, if you're having financial problems or somebody is doing something financially wrong with you, you should call our helpline number. And I just want to give that number again, 215-765-9040. And like I said, our senior law office is available to our seniors to help them with any problems that they're having, just to talk to somebody about your legal problems that are happening in your life at this time. And as far as home repairs, PCA has a program. We have our housing program with the SHARP program that you would call that helpline number to talk about what the problem is. And there is a financial requirement with that. So they will do an assessment and ask them concerning your finances. And also our in-home support program, which I mentioned earlier, provides home repairs. You would, if there's a roof that might need fixed, if there's plumbing work that might need done. But remember, in-home support is not a long-term care service. It is a brief service. We have every in-home support site has case managers that would come out, do an assessment to see what the problem is. A lot of times they come out for one issue and there might be another issue. So that's why an assessment takes place. They look in the house to see what might be the need might be for that consumer. And home repairs are done every day in our in-home support program. But remember, you must be 60 and over, homebound, and have no long-term care needs. And I said earlier that each section of the city has an in-home support site. So each section is covered with an in-home support site in one of our senior centers. We have Center in the Park, we have, which covers Germantown area, Mount Airy area. We have our West Philly Senior Center, which is Lutheran and Children and Family Services that covers West Philly. We have Catholic Healthcare Services that covers South Philadelphia. We have Klein Life that covers our Northeast section. And we have North City Congress that covers our North Philadelphia area. And I just want to, that number is so important because I don't want to give each number out because that would take too much time. But if you want them, I do have those numbers for each each in-home support site. But you can always call the 215-765-9040 to talk to someone there, and they can direct you to which site, in-home support site would be, because they go by the zip code. So they would let you know, and they would give you the direct number to call that number to give an intake to the in-home support site. So in-home support provides home repairs. PCA, our housing SHARP program, provides home repairs. And like I say, it's always good to just call, talk to an intake worker to see let them know what your need is, and they can direct you to what services you would be appropriate for. Thank you.
Thank you. Just echoing some of the things that Roger had said. So at CARI, we can provide some education around what the difference is between a living will, power of attorney, other elements regarding like personal planning documents. We do often refer our callers and clients that if they're interested in drawing up these types of documents to the Senior Law Center. And also we refer to Temple's elder bar group as well. And there was at one point, Drexel University was doing some personal planning documentation as well. I'm not sure with COVID if they're doing those clinics as often. Certainly COVID has impacted a number of our services. So we're certainly able to provide referrals to those organizations if there's interest in obtaining those types of documents. And we would certainly encourage folks who are wanting to learn more about it and are interested in doing that to do that. In terms of with housing repairs, I can say if an individual is home, if they're, because of a crime or vandalism, that their door is broken or their lock is broken or their window is broken, we have a specific program in Philadelphia for older adults that we have a special security fund, that we have contractors that we work with, and we could pay for those particular repairs. We often get referrals from police and other community partners. So when it comes to those types of repairs, and if it's related to a crime, that's something that could be referred to us. If other home repairs, I think Roger had highlighted those. PCA, we refer to the SHARP program, the in-home support program as well. And we have at times walked folks through the Philadelphia Housing Development Corporation. They have a program as well. They have a process of addressing some repairs also that, that we've walked through our callers through as well.
Thank you both for that response. I just want to take the time to let everyone know any phone numbers or hotline numbers that are being mentioned. My special assistant, Seth Myers, is adding that information into the chat session, section. So feel free to take a look at that information, as well as the email address and contact information for each one of our presenters today. I also want to acknowledge a few questions that came in, but I believe they've already been answered. Sonia Bigham from Harrogate Civic Association, we did see your question. I believe it was already answered, as well as Emma and Tony Johnson from Logan Civic Association. Good to see you on today, Tony. And then we have a follow-up question from Rosetta Crawford, who is from 12th and Cambria Town Watch, and glad to have you on, Rosetta. I'm going to ask if Jim Delafour, if you can respond to this. And the question is there a statute of limitation for filing a private criminal complaint?
Yes, it's a 2-year statute of limitations from the date of the incident. So you have a lot of time.
Thank you for that quick response. And Rosetta, you can always feel free to engage with Jim Delafour from our who is the chief of our private criminal complaint unit. His information is in the chat section. Next question is from our friend and stakeholder Melanie Nelson, who is executive director from Northwest Victim Services. And good to have you on today, Melanie. I'm going to ask Alex Blumenthal, ADA Blumenthal, if you can respond. What security measures are in place for senior victims who have to testify and return back to their homes and the offender is not in custody?
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. I do want to note first that I'm frequently impressed by how willing senior citizens are to come to court and how much they are not intimidated by any perceived or actual threats. Nevertheless, we of course take this matter very seriously, and it is a serious problem throughout the Philadelphia criminal justice system. We have resources at the DA's office. We can individually transport witnesses in, but with an employee of the district attorney's office runs a shuttle service, and then that person can be met right at the door, either by myself or a detective. Carry is also invaluable in this regard. They send representatives to court who will go and escort victims and witnesses into the courtroom. In a more dangerous situation, we can have detectives transport somebody in and bring that person in with a police escort. There's also all of the usual criminal justice tools that the office and I myself have used frequently. If there are threats or intimidation against a witness, We can open a separate intimidation or retaliation case. We can raise bail on the defendant who may be making the threats. Then there's something as simple as stay away orders, which are routine in the criminal justice system. And those instruct or order, excuse me, the defendant to refrain from contacting or harassing the victim or any family members. And I can say those are effective. We've used them, or at least I have used them to even keep very close neighbors separate, to keep people out of the neighborhood. Let me see if there's anything else I'm forgetting.
Well, I think we could mention the special grand jury, the indicting
Yes.
grand jury, which is a tool that we have now in Pennsylvania that we can use when a victim is threatened. If a victim is threatened, the victim can appear before the indicting grand jury, and the grand jury can indict, and the defendant is not present and is not aware that the victim has testified. So the defendant finds out about what's happened after the indictment is returned, and that allows us to help victims who are threatened and frightened, and we, in rare cases, if it's necessary, we can relocate people. That's not usually something that somebody who's elderly would like to have happen, but it is a tool that is available.
That's absolutely true. Thank you, First Assistant Temin. We do have those tools. I have a grand jury case right now with an elderly victim. And there are special resources for seniors to relocate themselves that are either through the Philadelphia Corporation that I think work through the Philadelphia Corporation for the Aging and some other private organizations. So there is some money out there for relocation, although I know especially with a senior, that's very difficult. But relocation can also be important when there's a case of caregiver abuse. And so, of course, it's very important to make sure that the victim does not return to the same caregiving situation. And so that's either an issue we work with the family on, or work with other victim services to make sure that that doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, as well as First Assistant Temin. Next question I'll ask. In fact, before that question, I do want to acknowledge we've invited several elected officials and their staff to join today, and you'll hear from either of those elected officials, our partners in both in the state as well as City Council. You'll hear from them in the last 10 minutes as they give greetings, the last 10 minutes of today's presentation. But we do want to acknowledge the Office of State Senator Art Haywood, the Office of State Representative Isabella Fitzgerald, the Office of State Rep Stephen Kinsey, the Office of State Rep Jared Solomon, the Office of Councilmember Kendra Brooks, the Office of Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson, and the Office of Councilmember Maria Quina Sanchez. So thank you all for being on today. Our next question is going to be for Roger Moore, and it's from Captain Malachi Jones, who is the commanding officer for the 5th Police District here in Philadelphia. Is there a phone number that people, particularly elderly people, can call to stop annoying, persistent, and often harassing solicitors?
I know that is a problem. That is a big issue. I get the same calls that our seniors get. I don't have a direct number to call for that. But like I say, it's a problem nationwide. I mean, it's not just here in Philadelphia, it's everywhere you get these calls. Our seniors get them. I suggest that they do have a case manager or service coordinator to let them know, because there is a way to handle those calls. Basically, you just hang up. But I don't have a direct number. I know there is some things you can do to get off of the list, or certain things you can do, but I don't have, maybe someone else on the panel might have a direct number that they could use to call. But like I say, it's a problem. It's a problem. But like, you know, if you have that problem and you do have family members, you let them know, and so they can assist you on how to handle those calls. But I always suggest to the seniors to just hang up and let a family member know, or let your service coordinator know, your social worker, or whoever you have that's involved with you in your life. Let them know I'm getting harassed every day. How can I get some help? And like I say, you can always call PCA. There could be a number. I don't personally have a number.
If any of our panelists, anyone has have a number or a resource regarding this last question.
I can just jump in for a minute. Mr. Moore is right. This is a very serious national problem. Nobody has a really good answer for it. Both the Federal Trade Commission and the Federal Communications Commission run websites where you can file a complaint. I sent those links to Seth. I will say that both organizations are very careful to note they do not do individual investigations, but it is helpful to them to be able to track the people making these calls. But it's a very big problem. I get complaints about this from seniors all the time. There is not a good solution to these persistent calls from bigger companies. If it's somebody persistently calling you, a private person or somebody you know, that can be potential grounds for a harassment complaint, or perhaps if it's a fraud or some sort of fraudulent scheme, if you know that person or that person's local, say a home improvement contractor or something, that's something you can report to the police. But these general robocalls, very, very difficult to track down, but you can report them to the federal government.
May I add as well, as Alex and Roger had mentioned, it is a big problem. And it was shared in the chat, the link for the Do Not Call Registry. I would certainly still encourage older adults or anyone, because we all get affected by these spam calls, to register your phone number. It doesn't have to, mobile or landline, it doesn't matter. The problem is that oftentimes with scammers is that they're violating the Do Not Call list. So it is effective to put there, but if you're still getting calls, it's just that because there's folks who are unfortunately still violating that list. I can also add there's, there is a service that I'm aware of. Actually, my parents are a part of it. If you have a landline, you can look into something called No More Robo. I can make sure to get the website, and so that's linked in the chat. It's free for a landline. I believe it is a fee for a mobile device, which is about $2. The purpose of No More Robo is to help filter out, those spam calls. So I've seen it in action where if a spam call comes in, the landline, it rings once and then it goes away. If it's a legitimate call, then it will continue to go through. The other thing you could potentially look into is, if you have a wireless phone, is what does your wireless carrier, what type of protections are they offering? So sometimes you could see on your mobile device if a spam call is coming up as unknown or a spam. That's certainly something maybe should be just something to be cautious about. Is this something to be answered? The other thing I'd pay attention to is that person leaving a voicemail for you? If it's a number that's just going through and they're not leaving a voicemail, there is a good chance that potentially could be a spam call. But again, it's just, as I said, you can look into what your wireless carrier is potentially offering. Some could be free services, some could be an additional fee that you may have to pay for, but those are some additional protections for you to try to avoid these spam calls.
Thank you so much. Just want to take a minute as well. I know we've acknowledged our elected officials. We also want to acknowledge the office of Councilmember Bobby Heenan. Paul, we do see that you're on today, and thank you for being on and send our greetings to the council member. The next question is going to be coming from Renee Cunningham from the Center in the Park over in Germantown. And Renee, great to have you on today. I'm going to ask that Andriana Bearfield would respond to this question. How does the city feel it can better partner with local senior centers to reach older adults?
Hi again. Great question. Thank you for submitting your question, Renee. So here at the District Attorney's Office, partnership is very important to us. It's basically the whole purpose and goal of the Community Engagement Unit. And prior to COVID, the Community Engagement Unit was partnering with senior centers throughout the city, to include Center in the Park, where we were just hanging out in the space, maybe engaging in conversation, providing materials to seniors to put a face to the name, to give our direct contact information, etc. Obviously, with COVID, there has been some disruption to our normal proceedings. However, in light of COVID, it has forced us to get a little bit more creative with how we engage with all of our stakeholders and residents throughout the city. As we all know, seniors do have the challenge and the barrier of technology. And so I do believe that our information, and by our information, I mean the Community Engagement Unit, to include G. Lamar Stewart and myself, has been provided in the chat. A lot of our work these days has included just being present in the community with taking necessary precautions to be safe in the midst of COVID. And so if there is a further discussion that we can have, particularly with each senior center, considering every community has specific needs, whether that's language capabilities, different age groups or interests. I personally, as well as I'm sure I can speak on behalf of the rest of our unit, would be very much interested in hearing and having a discussion about how we could possibly partner in an age of COVID related to the interests for our elders in your community.
Thank you so much, Adriana. And Renee, let me say that we are certainly looking forward to post-COVID world. We enjoyed our time at Center in the Park. My grandmother, who lives in Germantown, frequents Center in the Park. And the last time we were there, she and my aunt were playing pinochle, and I had a chance to join them. So thank you for all the work that you're doing at Center in the Park. This next question is coming from Maureen from the 2nd Police District. I'm going to ask that Officer Bunyan and Marielle would respond. Since all the senior fairs and expos are not happening, how can we provide seniors with tips or advice about scams and fraud?
Well, this is Officer Bunyan. What we're trying to do now, we received a whole lot of information from the Federal Trade Commission. Also, we're trying to start a database with all the seniors' names and addresses to mail them out the information, the new information that we received. As I said, because some of them are not computer savvy, we wanted to do a Zoom meeting, but unfortunately we can't do that. But we do have ample information to forward out. And like I said, we're beginning a database where we can mail them the information with explicit information on how to follow through, with how to get onto a computer or even call the Federal Trade Commission to put a red flag on their account so no one can go in and charge things up on their social security number. Sending them information to tell them not to give out your social security number for no reason at all. Anybody calls and asks you for your social security number, just hang up the phone, because they have, you should never give that out. Most of the times we do realize that seniors in the morning when they had their coffee, this is when we tell them to read. Grab one of those pamphlets and read it. We do reach out to a lot of them. Our database is being built even bigger, but with all of the VAOs that we have, we will soon be letting them know to get a database within your district to find out who your seniors are and to drop off this information that I have packed up at my desk ready to send out. Thank you. I hope that helps.
Thank you for the question. And I will also add that, as Officer Bunyan highlighted, it is definitely more challenging because with the senior safety fairs that were held, that was a great opportunity for many of our partner organizations to come together and share information related to how seniors can help to protect themselves and avoid scams. Certainly COVID has provided, as folks have noted, there's certainly challenges in doing that. I am glad to hear that we're trying to, with Officer Bunyan has noted, trying to reach those seniors who may not be on the computer as often. One of the things that Carrie has been doing is we've been promoting more on our Facebook. We recognize that older adults and their family and their caregivers may be utilizing social media. So if that's utilizing Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to help at least families get the message to pass along to their older adult relatives. The other thing we've been doing is reaching out to senior center coordinators, also senior housing coordinators, to get information related to on scams to watch out for. And it's great that, again, that we're having town halls like this so that we can spread that message as well. And in terms of, sort of the one message I would just say, and it's that age-old message that if something just sounds too good to be true, then it's probably likely that it's not true. And the other thing I would probably add is that don't be afraid to ask someone that you trust if something seems legit or not. So, and related to, I think Judge Temin noted the grandparent scam before. It's okay to if you get a call like that, to just hang up the phone and call a relative or call a friend or call a neighbor or someone that you trust and just say, I just got this weird phone call. What is, does this sound real to you? And because it's just so that it's sort of just a safeguard in whether or not to continue to engage in this, because like I said, it can feel, certainly with COVID, more isolating. We're all feeling more isolated already. And so just reaching out to that network just to kind of run something by someone to make sure that maybe that phone call was not real, or this lottery sweepstakes seems too good to be true. So, and, trust your gut and hopefully trust that person that you are going to for that advice.
Thank you both for those responses. The next question is coming from Rosetta Crawford from 12th and Cambria Town Watch. I'll ask Jim Delafiore to respond. What can we do as a community to help seniors live in their homes peacefully and prevent drug dealers from using their steps as a place to sell drugs?
Wow. The big thing I would think would be to stay in touch with your local police district and try to partner yourselves with your local police district as much as you can. I think, I think the more that a police district is aware that there's a chronic problem at a specific location with regard to possible drug dealing and that kind of thing, that kind of behavior, drug using, just maybe people just hanging out somewhere and using drugs. The police district really needs to know about it. Every police district has a community relations officer. Every police district has a victim assistance officer. I would suggest that seniors get to know those individuals in their neighborhoods, who's the CRO and the VAO at their local police district, and get to know them. So in addition to just making the 911 calls when maybe there's a possible drug dealing going on in front of your home or on your steps, really get to know the CRO and the VAO, and because those people really might be able to come up with a strategy, a long-term plans for the police to address the problem and get it to stop. I really think in situations like that, where it's a chronic problem of criminal activity going on your doorsteps right in front of your home, I really think that, to use a cliche, the squeaky wheel definitely gets the oil. You really have to just stay on your local police district to make sure that it gets addressed. Don't just call once or twice. Call over and over and over again. Get to know your CRO and the VAO. Call them over and over and over again. If you have access to email, get their email addresses. Email them every time something's going on, and stay on top of the situation until it gets addressed.
Thank you, Jim, for that response. I'm sure the CPO, Maureen, in the second district who's on, is standing by her phone now waiting for phone calls to come in. Next question is coming from one of the staff persons, Celeste, I want to say this right, Celestine, who's a major with the Salvation Army. But I said, Jim, I'm sorry, Alex and Judge, if you can respond back to this, or respond to this question. Is there any funding available that can be used to start a lunch program for seniors at the Salvation Army? What city agencies or private organizations contribute to the senior-related charitable causes?
Lamar, I think I heard that you said you wanted me to respond. I'm sorry, I really do not know the answer to this question. I am unfamiliar with those funding streams. We don't really do food service, so I haven't had to look into that sort of grant. I'm sorry.
Certainly. Judge Timmon? You're still muted, ma'am.
I also have to say that that is not part of my body of knowledge. Lamar, I have no idea where that kind of funding could come from. I would think probably people who work in the community would be the ones to ask about that.
All right. If any of our panelists have a response, I'll ask Sept Myers to provide contact information, Major, to the managing director's office. And so the MDO, it has resources as well as has resources and access to resources, I should say, regarding grant. Much of it is for violence prevention work, but if they don't have direct resources, I'm certain that they can certainly connect you with agencies that do it. So we'll make sure that we add their information to the chat section. Is there any other panelists that want to respond to that question? All right. I also want to just make note, we got a comment from Renee Cunningham from Center in the Park, and she mentioned that all senior centers, including Center in the Park, offer free lunch programs for seniors. So I do just want to make mention for that, or make mention of that. But Major, we will definitely try to get an answer for you from either our partners in City Council or from the MDO. Our next question is from Rosemary Jackson from State Representative Jared Solomon's office. I'm gonna ask Roger Moore to respond to this question. Do you have information about seniors who have become homeless before and during COVID? What are city agencies or private organizations doing to improve the senior citizens' general or situation generally? Yeah, you can respond to that. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we get a lot of calls concerning homelessness in the city of Philadelphia needing housing. We have a booklet that we send out. Before COVID, we used to be out in the community and doing events, and we would always give this booklet out. And we would let them know about, in the booklet, there's a number of housing, PHA housing, but as everyone knows, it's a waiting list for it. I always suggest that people at least apply, get your name on the list, and see what happens, because sometimes they'll say it's 2 years. I know an individual that was told it would be 2 years. After 6 months, he was able to get a place, and he was like really excited because he didn't realize that it happened that fast. But they did say at the beginning it was 2 years.
So I would suggest that you do call PCA, that 215-765-9040, and get that booklet just to have it, to give to somebody. Also, with the housing, we have even our dom care facilities in the city, which is run by PCA. They're called dom care homes. People decide that they want somebody in their home. They go through the process through PCA. PCA does initial assessment on the home, on the individual that wants to live in a dom care facility. And that is through PCA also. That's the dom care program is through PCA. But like I said, we get, when we used to be out in the community, we would always give that booklet out and try to assist people. We also suggest personal care boarding homes for people that are licensed personal care boarding homes, because we assess people in boarding homes to get the boarding home supplement. So we do, if you call that number, they would suggest that they would give you a listing of personal care boarding home as well. And like I say, there is a boarding home supplement that the state gives out to individuals that don't have enough income to live in a personal care boarding home. But in Philadelphia, there is some boarding homes that they call them boarding homes, personal care, but they're not licensed. So we would have you call PCA to get the up-to-date listing of personal care boarding homes. And you could get that by calling our helpline number, and they would be glad to send that information out to you. So you could get that listing also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roger, for that response. We have one more question from Tyrone Manning from Senator Art Haywood's office. I'll ask Roger as well as Alex Blumenthal to respond to this. What is the best way to go about assisting someone who's looking to move to a senior housing facility complex? What are these facilities, or where are these facilities, and how do you apply? I know you mentioned a little bit of that, Roger, so I'm just going to call on you again. Roger, you're muted, sir.
I'm sorry. That is also in the booklet that I was talking about. Our senior living information is in there that you would call and apply. And sometimes even, families will call just to get that booklet, to get that information. And like I say, what I could tell you is to get the booklet, to call, and even family members can look online to see what senior housing is available for seniors. Some people do have private money to pay, and some people don't. So if you do have private funds, then you could pay privately, and money talks sometimes when there's a waiting list. So that's my suggestion, is to get that booklet.
My answer on it is not going to add much. I would call PCA. If I got that question, I would refer them right to Roger's organization, and they do a really good job of either helping seniors themselves or referring them to the appropriate place.
Thank you very much, Jim and Roger, for that. As mentioned before, we have several stakeholders, or I should say elected officials, both in city council members, as well as electeds in the state, either they themselves or staff members who are with us today. So I'm going to ask that they would give remarks regarding today's presentation, or if any resources they want to share from their office pertaining to seniors and the support that their office is the support that they have in their office, and resources that they have available for seniors. So State Senator Art Haywood is on today. So, so I think we've made you a panelist. Good to see you. Hope all is well. And
thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, sir.
Should I take it away?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Lamar Stewart, and thank you for everyone who's joined in this tremendous event to focus resources on seniors. I'm so glad that the district attorney has taken up this agenda that goes to reach out to the community, those in need, and sees that the whole law enforcement includes community building. Community building is part of having a strong community where we can prevent some of the law enforcement infractions. My name again is Art Haywood. I have the 4th Senatorial District, which is mostly Northwest Philadelphia. We have an office at 7106 Germantown Avenue. That's Germantown at Mount Pleasant. And we have a range of services that we provide to seniors and beyond. But here's some of the things that we do that you may not be familiar with. Individuals can apply for public assistance in my office. They don't have to go to the county assistance office. We can do cash assistance, SNAP, Medicare, Medicaid, or people want to have those recertifications. We can do that all in my office and avoid sometimes the long waits that you may have in the county assistance office. My office does quite a bit of rent rebates. These are rent and property rebates. These are several $100s a year that individuals can reduce from their housing obligations or housing payments. And we are very active in getting these rent and property rebates completed. We do the disability cards. Individuals who need a parking space based upon disability come to my office, and we can arrange for all those applications, as well as many other state services, birth certificates, death certificates. And we are a place where we will refer individuals to resources in the event that we don't have the solution in-house. So my district office serves thousands of people every year. We're doing quite a bit of that by phone now because of COVID-19, but we do have office hours by appointment, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5. Appointments can be made at 215 by calling 215-242-8171. 215-242-8171. Also, we get a number of requests through email, and we will soon begin a live chat feature where you'll be able to chat remotely with my office to respond to the questions that you have. And the live chat is a few weeks away, but we're really excited about being able to introduce this feature. That's a quick overview of some of the activities of my district office. I'd be glad to answer any questions. I did hear a question in the panel regarding access to money for folks who have food, emergency food programs. Please contact my office. We are in contact with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that has funding for emergency food programs, and we'd be glad to connect that individual so they might be able to get some of that funding for their emergency food operation. I hope that's helpful, and I'm available to answer questions beyond my presentation.
Senator Haywood, thank you again for stopping by today and sharing about the work that you all are doing out of your office. I also want to thank you for supporting pre-COVID our one-stop job and resource hub when we were in your district over at Simon's Rec Center. So thank you for your advocacy and all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Next, we have Carlton Williams from State Rep Isabella Fitzgerald office. So you can unmute yourself, and we glad to have you on today. We're not able to hear you, Mr. Williams. No, sir. I'll try to unmute one more time.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Good, good. I see all the heads shaking. Yes. Sorry about that. Bring you greetings from the Northwest. I am the Director of Constituent Services and Community Outreach for State.
We can hear you. You got to speak up just a little bit, Mr. Williams.
Oh, the mic must be low. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
We'll come right back to you, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
If you just if you're able to work that out. Next, we have Janae Channel from State Rep Stephen Kinsey's office. Glad to have you on, Janae.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay. I just wanted to thank everyone for putting this together on behalf of the DA's office. A lot of times we get a lot of phone calls regarding issues with the DA's office, and I did not know that it had so many layers. So I thank you so much for taking the time to explain this to us. We are in the northwest part of Germantown, right down the street from Senator Haywood's office. We offer the same support for our wiser citizens, as we like to call them, in our office. Right now, we are open for business Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 2. And right now, our biggest focus is our rent rebates. We normally have a really huge senior health fair. And of course, due to COVID, we're not doing that this year. But we're still trying to figure out ways where we can still service our seniors. We have a lot of senior homes and facilities in our district, and we partner with them from time to time. So it's been a little difficult because of COVID, of course, but we're still making it and partnering with outside organizations that cater to seniors. So we're trying to come up with something actually before the end of the year, before it gets too cold for the seniors. And we're just trying to figure out how we can best serve them distantly, of course, with social distancing. We are located at 5952 Germantown Avenue, right across the street from Germantown High School. And like I said, for now, we are open Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 2. We do take walk-ins, but for the most part, it has been an appointment only. Our district office number is 215-849-6592. And you can follow Rep. Kinsey on Twitter at Rep. Kinsey, also on Facebook, Rep. Kinsey. And he also has a social media page on Instagram as well, State Rep. Kinsey, I believe it is, or Stephen Kinsey, excuse me. And that's basically it for now. Our biggest focus right now, like I said, is the rent rebates, just trying to get them processed. We had several, of course, from COVID, but we've maintained a system where all of us are working together to just stay on top of it. And, you know, so far it's been working. So we actually are caught up, which is a great thing. Very thankful for our staff here.
Thank you so much, Janae. Please send our greetings to the state rep. We also have on today Rosemary Jackson from State Rep Jared Solomon's office. Rosemary, feel free to unmute yourself. All right. Rosemary, are you there? Rosemary Jackson?
Yes.
We can hear you. How are you?
I'm here. I don't know what happened.
No worries.
All right. Yes, I'm here from State Rep Solomon's office, and we're at 7012 Krasner Avenue. And we offer pretty much the same services. We're open by appointment only, but we reserve 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays, for all day. We have 2 people coming in half days. We have someone coming in from 9 to 1, and I'm from 1 to 4:30. So we have been processing a lot of rent rebates as well, applying through Compass for all types of low income services. So yeah, and we have been actively doing much work with seniors too, as far as community events and town halls prior to COVID. So COVID didn't stop, it just slowed stuff down. And I currently was working with a couple of seniors who were homeless. So that's why I put that out there. And it's hard working with that silver age and getting them to understand that their life has changed and they need help. So thank you. Oh, our office is 215-342-6340. Let me try.
Thank you so much. Glad to have you. Please send our greetings to the state rep. Next, we have Paul from Councilmember Heenan's office. Now, are you available, Paul? You can unmute yourself there.
Yeah, Lamar, how you doing, bud?
How are you? Glad to have you on today.
Huh? How you doing? Thanks for inviting me. Very interesting. All right, I got some good points from here. One thing I did ask a question about. We receive a lot of calls about, scams, and we never know where to tell them, who to call. So we always refer them to the congressman's office, for fraud alert or whatever. But is there a local number that we can just call, give them to call and report these scams? Excuse me.
Certainly. So if you look in the chat feature, we've added numbers for all of our panelists, but specifically, if you want to connect them with our private criminal complaint unit, we'll drop that information back in again, so you'll see it in the chat, as well as for Alex Blumenthal, who is our elder justice representative here at the DA's office. You can engage with either one of them, and they will connect you in the right direction.
Lamar, I'm sorry. I'm just going to jump in real quick. Well, I'm always happy to talk to anybody who's a victim of a fraud. The first stop in most cases is the police department, either by calling the police or going by your local district. The police have the resources to investigate these frauds, particularly when they're local, when it's somebody coming to your door or somebody defrauding you in person. So I would note that they are really the best people to call. I'm always happy to talk if that becomes an issue, but the police are the primary investigatory agency for scams and all crimes in Philadelphia.
Well, that I was mostly just where they want to just report that it happened, not necessarily.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, we got Alex, because of time. I got you, brother. Sure. So Paul, I'm gonna connect with you all offline to make sure you have every contact that you need to have whenever a situation comes up regarding seniors. Is that all right?
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Lamar.
Thank you. Please send our greetings to the council member. We also have with us today, and thank you all for your patience. We have 2 minutes left and we'll have everybody off. Erica Stewart from Council Member Kendra Brooks' office. Glad to have you on. You have to unmute yourself. I believe it's Erica. We have someone from the office of Kendra Brooks. If you can unmute yourself there. All right. All right. Last but not least, we can have our stakeholders on from Northwest and not get a remark from Majida Rashid, who is the Chief Operations Officer and one of our faithful community partners from Nicetown CDC. This past Saturday, just had a peace march out Nicetown, community cleanup. They just had a conversation on gun violence. It's always good to see you, Ms. Mashida Rashad.
Thank you for having me, Reverend Stewart. I'm always pleased to join in. You're, one of our strongest community partners. We really appreciate that, being able to share the resources that you help us get out in the community. In regards to the seniors and some of the resources that we have here at the Nicetown CDC, our NAC program, we're officially closed but working remotely. I'm here every day. Our NAC coordinator is here every day, Solomon Williams, and we provide an array of resources specifically for our senior citizens that are Block captains, because they can communicate the information to their neighbors and other stakeholders in the community. So we kind of emphasize our work with the Block Captain Committee in Nicetown. Also, we do food distribution. We're still doing emergency COVID-19 rental assistance and rent rebates and things of that nature. Our NAC coordinator, Dina Butler, is working remotely, and she's taking care of those kind of things on a daily basis. So we're kind of like a one-stop shop from soup to nuts, and we try to make sure that we can get the information needed, and we're still working outside, boots on the ground in the community as well for different things that's going on. We get a lot of reports from our seniors who are also 311 liaisons. So we kind of work together hand in hand with that as well. And most of the elected officials that are on, especially I want to shout out Councilmember Kendra Brooks and Erica Stewart, did phenomenal job with the cleanups we've been doing, and we will continue working together on that. Just all of our community partners, we couldn't do without you. So we thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Majida. And once again, we know we're 2 minutes over, so we're going to prepare to end it here, but I want to just acknowledge all of our panelists again. First, Assistant District Attorney Judge Carolyn Timmon, Assistant District Attorney Alex Blumenthal, who is over our Elder Justice Unit, Assistant District Attorney Jim Delafora, who is the Chief of our Private Criminal Complaint Unit, Community Engagement Liaison Adriana Bearfield, who is our liaison for East, Northeast, and Northwest Police Division, or areas of the city, Officer Renee Bunyan, who is part of the Victim Services Unit at the Philadelphia Police Department, Roger Moore from the Philadelphia Corporation for the Aging, and Marielle Lorenz, who is from the Center for Advocacy for the Rights and Interests of the Elderly. Thank you for being our panelists today. Thank you to all our elected officials and your staff who's on. And more importantly, thank you to the community. Thank you for all the pre-submitted questions and questions that were asked during today's conversation. We hope that this information was helpful for you. And as always, feel free to reach out to myself or our team. Our contact information has been added multiple times into the chat section. Any feedback that you have or any resource that you need, feel free. You can always reach out to us directly. We'll connect you and point you in the right direction. Thank you. Be safe and God bless.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.